What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about fall water temperatures and what that means for your bass fishing. And stay tuned till the end because I'm going to tell you about my favorite fall fishing lure. Let's go. Hey, welcome back, guys, here to a Bass and Brews. And today we're going to talk about fall water temperatures. So what's happening to the water here and how is that going to change what those bass are doing? So kind of, looking at that fall pattern is really what we're trying to figure out here. And a kind of a good way to think about when is fall pattern really happening in your lake. Try to think about it as, say, when the water temperatures start to hit 10 degrees under what the highest water temperature was during the summer. So out here in the Midwest, our highest was about 80 this year. So around 70 is really going to be when we're going to hit that fall pattern. And speaking about fall, what's better than a fall beer? So here we got the Staghorn by New Glarus, and it's an Oktoberfest style, which is kind of one of those two fall beers that come out every year. And this is one of my favorite Oktoberfests. It's just got a great flavor, great, caramel in there. It's from New Glarus, which what's more Wisconsin than that. And, as we're talking about that fall transition, I think this beer is a good transition to go from your summer lighter beers into your kind of darker winter beers. And a nice brown ale. So it's a great fall beer. Definitely enjoy one while you're out on the boat. But anyways, back to those water temperatures. So I'd say, so you start out with those 70s, all right? That's gonna be that's really that like transitional period. Fish are starting to realize, hey, summer's over. We gotta start looking at, winter. So, they're gonna start transitioning out of some of those deeper holes that they were in during the summer and start moving up, starting to think about chasing bait balls. But this transition period in the 70s can be a little bit more difficult than later on because they're really transitioning, right? They might be shallower, that might be deeper, then that might change depending upon the day, or weather or anything like that. So it's a little bit more difficult to pinpoint them in those 70s than it is, say, later on in the year. So, definitely keep those electronics out, check some of that, deeper water, check the, shallower water. But, you're definitely going to want to start thinking about, moving away from fishing on the bottom. They should hopefully be looking to be eating a little bit higher up in the water column. So that's that 70s for you. As we start moving into the 60s, now we're really into fall pattern here for sure. Out here right now, our water temperature is 68 on the lake that I'm currently on. So we're definitely, right into that, fall pattern. We're still almost on the edge of transition because maybe this lake only got up to, say, 78. So we're still close. So, still take a peek deeper, but they should be chasing those bait balls for sure. At this time, it's almost more important to find those bait balls than it is to have these fish on specific structure. So if you find the bait, chase the bait, you should hopefully be finding those fish. As the water temperature starts to drop here as well, our weeds are gonna start to die off a bit. So make sure you take a look and make sure you're fishing the greenest weeds. And that's gonna be more important later on. As we move down into the 50s, that's where you're really going to need to find some of those green weeds. These fish are going to be really feeling that winter's coming. So they're hopefully still, really active, still trying to fatten up for winter. But as they kind of get to the 50s, this is kind of that transition back out period. So they're going to start, maybe looking at going back to their deeper stuff where they're actually going to stay for the winter. So, you're gonna really want those electronics here around the 50s, maybe seeing them out a little bit deeper, around the first break. But they're also gonna kind of start schooling up with the other bass in the area. So, if you can find them, you should be finding a lot of them. But if you can't find them, it's going to be hard to catch them. So, you know, really try to find them there with your electronics. That should help you out for sure. And then as we then get down into the 40s, I mean, we're getting kind of time to wrap it up here. They're really out in those kind of winter areas now. They're going to be really condensed. Still are catchable if you're able to find them, but finding them is going to be tough. And you know, they're so condensed that just, you know, fan casting things isn't going to be your friend for sure. But 40 degrees, we're getting close to hard water at that point, so it's going to be tough, but you can still find them. A really big thing that happens in the fall time up here is the fall turnover. I'm pretty sure you've heard of that. What really happens there is as the water, the top layer of water, anything above the thermocline starts to cool down, that water becomes denser. And then as that water, you know, keeps cooling down, it's going to become about the same density as the water below the thermocline. And so when that happens, those two waters mix. And it's a really strange kind of water time, you know, for any lake. And really those deeper bass that normally live out by the thermocline are the ones that are going to be affected by this the most. But as this kind of turnover happens, it normally, you know, affects the lake a lot for a few days, and then everything kind of chills out from there. Since all the water's around the same temperature, you know, everyone kind of comes to equilibrium on that. A big way you can tell if turnover has happened or if it is happening, if your water kind of starts to have like a lot less clarity than it usually had over the summer. You might be right in the middle of turnover. And if you're starting to see these like dead floating weeds and things, like this kind of dead stuff that would have been down underneath the thermocline start floating around, then that's going to be the actual turnover that you're going to be in the middle of right there. But after turnover happens, then effectively there's no thermocline in the water. It's all about the same temperature. So those fish can be, you know, they don't have to stay deep if they wanted to. They could go shallow. They could be even deeper than where they were during the summer. They're not held back by that thermocline at all. So that's a big thing that happens in the fall. But as long as you're not right on the, you know, main week that's happening, hopefully that won't affect you too much. Now, let's talk about fall lures. So as we start looking at those fish that are following bait balls, right, we're going to be a little bit higher up in the water column. Top water can be really good for you. So really good top water, one of my favorites is the Zero Spook, right? So this guy, you walk the dog on that top water, you can cover a lot of water. It's got a great action, a lot of fish just seem to love it. It's got a nice rattle in it. So it's gonna call fish in, and it could even call them up from those depths. Even if, say, they're chasing around 10 feet down, this could call them up, no problem. Another really good one is your crankbaits. So this, you know, you try to find where those ball baits are, get a crankbait that's gonna dive right down to there, and you should be good. Some other good lures are the spinner baits. These guys are really versatile at this time. These will scoot around. You can get them in different depths. You know, you can choose where you want to run it and everything. Along with those are your chatter baits. So, you know, think about those too as you're trying to find these bait balls. But my number one favorite lure for fall fishing is jerkbait. This guy right here, this guy is going to be your best friend in fall time. You can cover a decent amount of water with here. That action of that dying bait fish, you know, with that jerk in there is just going to set them off. And you can catch a lot of fish on jerk baits in the fall. So I really recommend getting out there and trying these guys. This guy is kind of a mega bass type of a profile on here, but don't have to go out and buy $25 jerk baits. You can get ones that are similar to this right here on your Amazons or anything like that aren't going to cost you 25 bucks. But any kind of jerk bait will work great for you. The size of that lip is going to kind of determine how deep it's going to fall. Suspended jerk baits are my favorite for sure. It looks like a dying fish in the water. Fantastic. So there you have it. That's going to be your fall temperatures, fall water temperatures, and what that means for you. So hopefully this helps, and get out there this fall and get yourself some fish. And you know what we say, can't catch a fish, you can always catch a buzz. Bass and Brews.